Welcome to the Virtuous Workplace, where we explore timeless principles that can help you and your team flourish. I'm your host, Steven Mezzacappa, a leadership consultant and the founder of the Passion with Purpose organization. Right now, we are drawing inspiration from the weekly Sunday readings according to the Catholic lectionary calendar. This week, we are looking at Luke chapter 6, verses 27 to 38. Feel free to pause this video to go look it up quickly or stay right here as we unpack it. In this gospel reading, Jesus gives us a challenge. Love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, and pray for those who mistreat you. Now pause for a minute and just reflect on these words. I'm sure you might have heard them before, but when was the last time you lived it out, especially in the workplace? When I reflect on this passage, I think of difficult people I've encountered throughout my career. And, we often end up spending more time at work than we do with our own families. So how we engage our souls in the workplace has a tremendous impact. But back to the message of this reading. Love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, and pray for those who mistreat you. Throughout your career, have you ever thought that people around you in the workplace have potentially been an enemy? Have they ever made you feel like they hate you? Have they ever cursed you, mistreated you, or gossiped behind your back? Has anyone ever done anything that you believed undermined your career growth and success? If none of these scenarios apply to your professional career history, or if nothing relevant comes to mind, then you might as well count your blessings. To simplify, in the context of this discussion, let's identify difficult colleagues as those who may be overly competitive, constantly complain, passive-aggressive, resistant to change, or those who may intentionally steal credit. There are many other forms or descriptions of what a difficult colleague might look like, so feel free to insert yours or reflect on it while we continue this discussion. When encountering difficult colleagues, there is a range of how we may respond on a passive to assertive scale. Being too passive or too assertive are both responses we should try to avoid. Being passive may look like intentionally trying to ignore the wrongs you're experiencing or just wiping things under the rug, and this can be an issue because it can lead to harboring resentment, and if you harbor resentment long enough, you risk becoming a difficult colleague yourself. Now, being too assertive in your response may feature some rendition of confrontation that may not serve yourself or the difficult colleague. And to clarify, I'm referring to a confrontation that does not lead to lasting, long-term positive change. So if this is the case and there is this range of how we respond to difficult colleagues, then how do we respond? Again, do I just ignore it all and act like everything is fine, which is the passive response, or do I blow up on the difficult colleague, causing more damage in the workplace, thus this being the assertive response? The answer is no, neither of these. We need to seek out the mean between these two extremes, a principle which comes from virtue ethics, which calls for the pursuit of the mean between deficiency, which may, in this context, being our passive response, and excess being, in this situation, our assertive response. So we want to find this balance between passive response and assertive response. So to seek the balance, let's draw our inspiration from the lesson taught by Christ here in the Gospel of Luke in this week's reading. He says, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you. And I'll continue the reading further. Jesus continues, to the person who strikes you on one cheek, offer the other one as well. And from the person who takes your cloak, do not withhold even your tunic. Give to everyone who asks of you, and from the one who takes what is yours, do not demand it back. Do to others as you would have them do to you. There are several virtues at play here when we apply this teaching to dealing with difficult people in the workplace, them being faith, hope, and love, all of which being the theological virtues. The theological virtues adapt our soul faculties to participate in the divine nature, meaning when tempted to react to a situation based in sin or fear, the theological virtues empower our souls to react with good and love through the employment of the human virtues. The Catholic Church teaches that the human virtues are firm attitudes, stable dispositions, and habitual perfections of intellect and will that govern our actions, order our passions, and guide our conduct according to reason and faith. There's a lot more depth we could cover as it relates to the virtues, but we will save this for another day. And if you're interested in content like that, make sure you just subscribe to this YouTube channel, as content centered around the virtues will become a major focus. But back to our discussion. Jesus' teaching in this gospel challenges us to love our enemies, or these difficult people, by employing human virtues such as prudence, justice, temperance, and fortitude that best realize their potential by resting in the theological virtues which are strengthening in our relationship with God. It is not easy to love one who harms us, and it is not easy to bless one who curses us, and it is definitely not easy to pray for one who mistreats us. So to accomplish such things, we must lean into the love Christ offers and be the vessels for that love to come through us by practicing the moral virtues in the workplace. Prudence empowers us to know what to do and knowing when to confront a difficult colleague and how to confront. Justice empowers us to do what is right. You see, it is perhaps unjust to do nothing at all when dealing with difficult colleagues, and it is perhaps also unjust to deal with difficult colleagues too assertively. Temperance empowers us to ward off internal threats. See, insecurity and our own character flaws may inhibit us from properly dealing with our difficult colleagues. Finally, fortitude empowers us to ward off external threats, embracing courage in how we confront and love our difficult colleagues. Now, bringing this all home, there are 3 actions we must take when dealing with difficult colleagues. We must love them, we must bless them, and we must pray for them. Bishop Robert Barron, in reference to St. Thomas Aquinas, often says that to love is to will the good of another. In willing the good of a difficult colleague, we should embody empathy and care for the development of the individual. To love another is to confront another in a way that builds them up and does not tear them down. In blessing them, we should seek out their well-being and genuinely desire their good. This spirit will fuel the journey of reconciliation and healing in the workplace. And finally, praying for difficult colleagues acknowledges that we ultimately do not bear the responsibility for another's actions. It is not us who can change the heart of a difficult colleague. This is the Lord's work, and we must pray that God brings healing both to the heart of the difficult colleague and to our very own as well. I hope you enjoyed this first edition of the Virtuous Workplace, where we explore timeless principles that can help you and your team flourish. I'm your host, Steven Mezzacappa, and if you're dealing with difficult colleagues right now and need some support in how you can apply the teachings of this video to your context, please visit www.passionwithpurpose.org/coaching to submit an inquiry. I'm currently accepting a limited number of pro bono coaching clients at this time, and I would love to support you. Send you grace, peace, and passion, my friend. Take care.